Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Sunday. We're going to do a couple of DraftKings updates, mostly sticking with a lot of the same information earlier this week, but we'll run through those guys again real quickly. And then we'll hop into the overlay progressive jackpot. So yes, Ray, Gino, all the guys that ask every Sunday, it's coming for you right now. Hopefully everybody enjoyed NBA the last couple of days. I mean, the preseason, it's wild, man. Like there's no, you don't get great reporting. Like Luka's like 90% owned last night, and Dallas guys didn't play in the second half. You know, a lot of people didn't know that. Your boy Morant went off. Giannis worked. My boy Portis worked. And I had a whole bunch of other plays that were terrible, that didn't even barely play any minutes. Like, it is a crazy roller coaster ride. So I'm excited for some regular season football today.
Yeah, Portis definitely smashed. Nice call there. Bull definitely did not smash. Could not believe they only played him like 5 minutes. I mean, even in the preseason, Mike Malone will get you. It is what it is. And then some other cases like, OKC, they were just so short on bodies. Diallo must have played like 30 minutes. So, yeah. It's tough. Portis was definitely huge. Using Morant over Luka was pretty big.
It's just a wild ride, isn't it?
It's a very wild ride. I mean, just sitting on the edge of my seat, praying that Bull comes in. Because I had like 2 out of my 4 lines were cashing, and 2 of them were not, obviously. But the 2 that were both had Bull, like with 0, because he hadn't played. So, most people around there like don't have Bull because he's got 0. So every time, he got 3 boards, every time he got a rebound, my scores are moving up because you know how that goes. I'm like, damn, I wish he could get more than 3 boards.
Yeah, I cashed in all my GPPs. Wasn't even close in cash games. I'm probably going to stick to GPPs in the preseason moving forward. It's just more fun.
It's more fun. And, man, preseason NBA seems like one of the worst places to play your cash games.
I agree. And the cash game, like, there's no good contest for it or anything like that. So it's going to stick to GPPs moving forward. It's just more fun in the preseason. It's wild. I'm loving it, though, man. I'm just happy to be, stare at my phone like a zombie again.
Same, man. I never thought that I would be liking preseason NBA this much. But I am, and you've really gotten me into it. The other thing is, it is preseason, but, it is the closest thing we have to regular season, so I'm enjoying it.
It's nice to have something to watch, guys. Anyways, they are doing some awesome jobs of getting up NBA preseason on overlay as well. Check it out, guys. The matchup shop is great. We're going to go into the progressive jackpots in a little bit after this. I highly encourage you guys to check out the matchup shop. I got a pick on there I love today, and we will talk about that when we go through the jackpots because it's also up there on the progressive jackpot. But I'm also getting a point on the matchup shop, so that's just a little bit of a preview right now. If you haven't signed up for overlay yet and you do so, just screenshot the deposit when you make it initially and send it to me so I can hook you up with a free 5-pack membership. Speaking of 5-pack memberships, for all the new customers the last couple days, you see how quickly I get your reimbursements out to you guys. New monthly customers up through tomorrow. Get half of your first month reimbursed. Be ready to go for the NBA season. Will be a little extra info in the preseason for paying customers, and you can get today's NFL package.
Yeah, man, I'm hyped. I'm hyped to break this down with you, talk some overlay. Let's get it.
All right, first things first, we brought him up earlier in this week. That's the D-Train Henry. Derrick Henry taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, 8,700. It's a little bit pricey, but we know that guy can smash this price. This is just your classic NFL sports betting fantasy sports play. What I mean by that is when teams, the final score wasn't a blowout, but your Browns really did blow out the Titans last week. They were up like 100 points in the first quarter. Henry was just eased out of it. This is a great spot for him today against the Jaguars defense. My question for you, what is your guess on ownership right here? Because I think he's somewhere between cash game and GPP type of ownership, so I think he's viable in all formats.
I agree with you. I do think he's going to get a little bit more love than we might have thought at the beginning of the week. But it's tricky because a lot of the good value on this slate is at running back. There's a bunch of good running backs in play. He's projected to be one of the top 10 highest owned plays on the slate. I think you're right. I think he's high enough owned where you play him in cash games. I don't think he's too chalky where you want to fade him in tournaments. As we always say, you do you. It's a great spot for Henry. We, along with most other people, loved him in that week 2 game against Jacksonville. He wasn't very good. The reason Henry's not a must here in this spot is just because you got other really good plays on the slate.
He's expensive.
You can't fit Henry and Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill or whoever it is. You can't fit all of them. So I like Henry a lot. He's definitely on my short list, but I understand why someone wouldn't get there.
Yeah, I mean, what we know about Derrick Henry is he's touchdown in yardage relying because he's not utilizing the passing game. You don't really worry about the Jacksonville Jaguars getting up, but I do want to give Jacksonville some credit for as bad as they are record-wise. They fight. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen them in a bunch of games that they almost could have won. So I do want to give them credit for fighting. I just can't picture them getting up on Tennessee here.
I'm waiting for the wheels to fall off Jacksonville at some point, but you're right. They've been competitive in basically every game they've played. They play hard. They're one of these teams that they don't have a lot of talent, but they play hard. You know,
I respect them way more than the Jets.
Yeah, unlike some other teams that are talented but don't play that well, like the Bears or a team like that.
Amen. All right, we're going to go back to a guy who's one of your favorite overall plays. I also like him a lot this week. I would struggle to use him in cash games, as I put in the write-up this week. He's definitely GPP preferable, but we like Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones is good, and the reason he's hard to trust is not his fault. It's more like we just don't trust Bruce Arians to play him, whether it's Tom Brady lobbying for Leonard Fournette, who looks dusted, as you would say. I like Ronald Jones a lot this week. Arians said he's going to get him the ball. I don't trust him, but that doesn't mean I don't like Jones a ton here.
It's a statement game for Tampa. I like them quite a bit to take care of business today. You know, start with their D and their run game. I know they've got a ton of, shiny pieces on the outside, and they've got Tom Brady at quarterback. But at the end of the day, they need to start establishing the run game. They've acknowledged it for the past 2 weeks since they've had their bye. I agree with you. I wouldn't play him in cash games because it goes back to the point we just talked about. There are a ton of good value running backs in play, and those guys are going to get a lot more love. Jones is a really good tournament play because what we're talking about, he's not going to get a lot of love. He's got big upside. He's priced affordably. I think this game script fits him to a T. I liked him a lot coming into the week, and then I know, like when we did our first video, you mentioned how much you liked him, so I just haven't gotten off him since.
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all if he goes for 102 touchdowns this week. The hard part is, though, like if he fumbles early, which he's done like 3 times this year, and he's out of the game, like this is 2 to 3 points waiting to happen. So you have to be very careful and know the risk on this one. But I would not be surprised at all if he's a top 3 running back at the end of the day.
Amen.
All right, last running back we'll talk about, and then we'll move into a couple wide receivers. J.D. Mckissick. Nothing's really changed here, except for Antonio Gibson is officially ruled out. But when we talked about him a couple days ago, we were almost 100% certain Gibson wasn't going to be in there anyway. Peyton, all right. I'll get to that here in a second. Peyton Barber will get probably more carries in the running game than J.D. McKissick, but Peyton Barber is not going to be able to run all over San Francisco. They're going to need to throw the ball today. Terry McLaurin's in a tough matchup on the outside with San Francisco. Expect J.D. McKissick. I think he gets double-digit targets in the passing game today. I think he's reasonable to think he gets 12, 13, 14 targets in the passing game. They're easily completable. And we all know that Alex Smith likes to dump it off like a guy who just had 2 coffees and a cigarette.
And if you don't know what that means, go drink 2 coffees and have a cigarette, and you will find out real quickly. So I agree with you. Peyton Barber is meaningless to me. I mean, it's good that Gibson's out because they got one less body, but we've seen this book before. We've read this book before, excuse me. When Washington gets down in a game or if they're in a game script where they need to throw, McKissick gets a ton of volume. And the 3 past games like that, he's got double-digit targets. He makes a ton of sense here for a team that's now missing their best running back. He's one of the reasons that a guy like Ronald Jones is not a good play in cash games. Yeah,
I just don't think they're going to have much luck running the ball, so I think they're going to have to throw it. Alex Smith is not getting the ball downfield, which means that McKissick doesn't have to have a great day. You know what I mean? Like, he could have 8 catches for 40 yards. That's nothing. And at least it's like a floor type of player right there. Like, and if he breaks one a little bit big, if he happens to hit pay dirt, like I think he could have 25 points today. It's just PPR guys in a PPR format like this, there's a lot of safety right there.
Yeah, he's got one of the better floors on the slate at his price.
All right, next up, I'm going to go right back to a guy we already talked about, Adam Thielen. Nothing has changed right here. It is extremely difficult to run on Tampa Bay, allowing the second least amount of DFS points to the running back position. As great as Dalvin Cook is, this team is almost running back proof. You put good running backs up against Tampa, they still don't have a lot of success. This means it rests on the right arm of Kirk Cousins and those 2 stud receivers, Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. I see this as a Thielen game, but quite honestly, I like both of the receivers here. Kirk Cousins is playing awesome lately. The passing game is working well here. You think Tampa Bay plays well, which means that you could see 30, 40, 50 pass attempts from Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen with a lot of those easily completable routes. And we've also noticed, like, the Tampa Bay pass defense, it's just not very good. And Adam Thielen has 12 touchdowns this year because he is a red zone focal point.
Yeah, even taking it a step further, the Tampa D hasn't been very good. You've seen a lot of teams just abandon the run against them because they're really good against the run, and they're not
really good.
Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense. You're going to see Minnesota throwing a lot here. Doesn't mean Cook can't get involved in the passing game, of course, because he's really good. But you're basically taking away Minnesota's bread and butter. What they like to do is run the ball, and you're going to see Cousins throwing a ton here. The great thing about that is you know who he's throwing to. You got Thielen and you got Jefferson. You mentioned you like Jefferson. I think you can like both these guys. Thielen's the safer guy, and man, the upside's been there all year because he scored 12 touchdowns.
Very much like my boy Devontae Adams. Once they get down in the red zone, there's creative ways they get him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to switch it up. One different pick today is going to be Michael Gallup as opposed to Julio Jones. We'll call it like it is. This is a price play right here. I wouldn't pay $7 or $8K for Michael Gallup, but he's $3,800, so I don't have to pay that kind of money for him. He's a good price. He's talented. He seems to be developing chemistry with Andy Dalton the last couple of weeks. This is a good matchup with Cincy, who's actually been decent against number one wide receivers, but has struggled against a couple of the secondary pieces, 19 targets the past 2 weeks. He's just cheap. Give me a cheap guy like this.
Man, I was actually considering changing one of my running backs to Gallup this morning before you messaged me. So as soon as you messaged me, I was all about it. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It kind of got me pumped that this is the guy you mentioned to me because this was the guy I wanted to bring up as our fifth guy. You're right. I wouldn't play him at second, 7K, 6K, but he's not that price. Under 4K, he's better than his $3,800 price tag implies. Really starting to show that in a good spot against Cincinnati with a fired up Andy Dalton. Man, I like Gallup a lot today, like way more than I've ever liked him. So I'm all about it.
Yeah, this game could have some sneaky offense, actually, because Dallas, even against a Cincinnati offense that isn't great, Dallas defense is, they're not superb. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sneaky offense in this game.
I agree.
So that's it for today, guys, as far as the DraftKings stuff goes. But let's switch on over to Overlay and talk about the progressive jackpots.
Let's get it.
Moving on over. Ooh, they switched the price point on this one a little bit. I gotcha. All right. Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. He's in a significantly better matchup in a dome against a team that has very little to play for, that's missing their top two cornerbacks. I don't like picking against Patrick Mahomes because, well, Patrick Mahomes is really good at football. But if I got to choose between the State Farm boys, give me Aaron Rodgers here.
I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go Mahomes, but I don't disagree with anything he said.
Mahomes is amazing. I never want to pick against Patrick Mahomes, but the two front runners for MVP right here, I'll pick the guy in the better matchup, but I never want to pick against Patrick Mahomes because he is phenomenal at the game of football. He can give it to anyone.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's pretty good. All right, man. Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr. It's a tough one to answer.
Yeah, very much so. I like Rivers here, just not as good of a defense he's going up against. But, you also could get potentially Las Vegas playing from behind. So it's a very tough one. I lean Rivers.
I lean Rivers as well, but this is a game that there is no result to this game, whether it be a close win for either team or a blowout either way, that would surprise me because these two teams are all over the board. They can look really good some weeks and really bad other weeks. This is one, like if I was a sports bettor, I wouldn't even come close to taking a look at. I just don't have a good feeling for this game one way or the other. So I'm going to go Rivers, but this is not one that I say with much confidence.
For sure.
All right, man. Beginning of the season, this would have been an easy pick with Kyler Murray because he was balling and the Giants weren't playing so well. Now that's turned around. Murray's been struggling since the injury. The Giants' defense is one of the best in the league over the past month or two. Now we got Deshaun Watson minus like almost all of his weapons at Chicago. These are two of the best DFS quarterbacks in the league, but I wouldn't touch either of them like on a DK format this week. So it's an interesting question. Gun to head, give me Watson just because I think he's just playing a little better.
Give me Watson. He's healthier.
Yeah. All right, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry. Give me against Atlanta. Struggles against tight ends.
Same, man. You know how much I wish Mike Williams was a thing, but he's just not really a thing. He's got big weeks occasionally, but give me Hunter Henry on a week-by-week basis.
All right, Austin Eckler versus Keenan Allen. So the news came out yesterday that Joshua Jackson is off the IR now, so they got a full backfield in the Chargers. I'm not saying Eckler's still not their best option, but it's a guy who was injured for a long time, and they're not playing for a ton down there. I don't know that they force him 25 touches today. For that reason, I will take Keenan Allen. Both of these guys are PPR beasts, but the half-point PPR doesn't matter here because that's both of what they do. So I'll take Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I like Keenan Allen more as well.
Yeah, I was bigger on Austin Eckler in the beginning of the week, but I worry that maybe he only has 15 touches today.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Deebo Samuel versus Brandon Ayuk. Man, I like both of these guys. Imagine if they had a quarterback in San Francisco.
Yeah, right.
I
lean Deebo personally, but it's very close.
I agree, but you're right. It's close. All right, Tim Patrick versus Jerry Judy. I know this was a question for you last week that pained you when it came to making your showdown lineup. What do you think this week?
I can't get off Judy here just because of 1 week. Like I don't want to pick it, but give me Judy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the frustrating part about DFS in general is I think Judy's better than Tim Patrick, but Tim Patrick caught 2 touchdowns last week, so it's hard not to remember that. But that has no influence over this game. Carolina's pretty good at wide receivers, so I don't think either of these dudes are in crush spots, but I'll stick with Judy as well.
Yeah, we see that like exactly eye to eye.
All right, Adam Thielen versus Justin Jefferson. I'm going to pick Thielen. Jefferson's really good. I just like Thielen to score today as more of a guarantee, but I couldn't fault a soul in the world for going Justin Jefferson here.
They both look good. I also like Thielen slightly more, but I also think the PPR half point makes in a full point, I like Thielen more. In a half point, I still like Thielen more, but not quite as much. Do you agree?
Yeah, but it's like if Thielen gets 8 catches and Jefferson gets 6, it's like 1 point. I don't want to bet on that to make the difference, but that was in my equation as well. It's close, man. Justin Jefferson's a stud. They didn't lose anything by skipping out on Stephon Diggs this year.
Nah, I mean, when you get a guy like that, you think it was a great move for them just because they're paying him so much less money, and he looks like a direct replacement for Diggs.
Amen. All right, Mike Davis against Robbie Anderson. By last check, DJ Moore and CMC were all but ruled out, so I expect them both to be out today. I haven't looked this morning to see if either of those are official. In this situation right here, knowing Denver's also down their number 1 corner, I'm going to take Robbie Anderson. I remember when Mike Davis was a thing for a few minutes, but he has not been good in recent memory.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in Mike Davis at all. Definitely give me Robbie Anderson here.
All right, Chris Carson versus DK Metcalf. Guys, it's the Jets. It's tough to run on him. It's easy to throw on him. Give me DK Metcalf. I think he could have a day here.
All day, DK Metcalf.
All right, Mike Evans versus Chris Godwin. I'll take Evans. Just a higher likelihood to score. He's a touchdown machine down there. I don't love it. I'll never love picking between any of the Tampa Bay wide receivers. But when it comes down to it, I like the guy who gets targeted in the red zone.
I agree. I'm just going to go Godwin because they're so close, and it's just a gut feel.
Alvin Kamara versus Michael Thomas. Give me Michael Thomas.
Same. With Taysom Hill there, it's Michael Thomas.
Yeah. T.Y. Hilton versus Michael Pittman Jr. I've been hard on T.Y. Hilton for so many years. I'm going to give him a little love today. He's been good the last couple weeks. I'll pretend like it's a thing. I don't say it with great confidence, but I'll take T.Y. Hilton here.
I'm going to go Pittman, but yes, I also am well aware of T.Y. Hilton's been playing well, and last week I would have easily picked Pittman, and now it's not so easy.
Yeah, Pittman's their future. Hilton's been the last couple of weeks after looking like a dog all year, so I can't look at you and be like, oh, that's crazy. It's not at all. There's a reason this is a question. And Pittman's going to be a stud someday. Kind of already is. This is a tough one. Hilton's strict recency bias.
Next one's a tough one, too.
For me, I love this one. Give me Kirk Cousins all day.
Yeah, I think most people are going to go that route, but I actually like Dalvin Cook here. I think he gets a lot of work in the passing game, and I think Minnesota struggles on offense today. So I'm going to take the guaranteed points with Cook here.
I'll take Cousins. I love it in the matchup shop, too. You get points with Cousins. Best team in the league against running backs outside of New Orleans is Tampa Bay. So I think Minnesota could fall behind here and have to throw a bunch.
But Cook is just a different type of running back. If they're doing that, he's going to get PPR points.
Yeah, he'll get some. But I think he also, Cousins has played really well the last 6-7 weeks and has been putting up monster DFS points.
I've heard a bunch of people talk about Cousins and Thielen and Jefferson this morning and last night. I'm just not seeing it. I think Tampa's D plays really well today. That's just how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I get why you think that. I know you like those guys coming in off the bye week and everything like that. Um, they've struggled in the past game lately. Doesn't mean they don't struggle today or they do struggle today. It's a fun game to watch. It's my favorite game to watch at noon today. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, same. I'm like surprised at the noon game. I thought it was going to be a late game.
So did I. This definitely has all. Like, why are my Packers playing the Lions in the afternoon? It seems like
Right?
this game is in the morning or the early afternoon. Because
That's exactly what
I love watching the Packers play, but the Lions are terrible. Like, that's not something that shouldn't be a noon game. This should be a featured game in the afternoon.
Amen.
So I'm with you on that one wholeheartedly. All right, last one up. They do these questions every week, and I'm almost always Cook over Cousins, and I'm almost always Henry over Tannehill. This week, I'm Cousins over Cook for a rare time. That being said, almost every time I've gone Cook over Cousins, I've lost. So I'm sure the same thing will happen today. I'll take Cousins finally and lose. But I like Henry over Tannehill, no question.
That makes me feel very good about Cook over Cousins. Yeah, I like Henry over Tannehill more also. We don't usually see these running back quarterbacks. Well, on pace sites especially, you don't see that at all. So it does provide a little bit of a different element, because this is the only place where you'll be, matching up a running back and a quarterback.
Gives you something different to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And week 2, everybody and their mother played Derrick Henry, and he was terrible against Jacksonville. Meanwhile, I think Tannehill tossed like 4 touchdowns. They loaded up the box, and he play action the hell out of him. I expect Henry to have more success here today. I mean, obviously, we talked about it. We like him, but, nothing in life is guaranteed, and DFS is definitely a big part of that.
Yeah, for sure. One other thing I want to mention, because I know you can appreciate this. I saw someone tweet this morning, and I couldn't agree more. The Browns play on Monday night tomorrow night against the Ravens. Big game. One of the bigger games that they've played since they've come back. Browns don't play on that many, primetime games, Monday night, et cetera. But they've had a few in the past few years after they got Odell. I can't remember the last time where we played a Monday game or a Sunday night game and people weren't saying all over here, oh, at least we don't have to see the Browns lose on Sunday. It's a completely different type of vibe,
I mean, good for you guys. I've been pretty spoiled in my life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm 40 years old. When 1980, when I was born, the Packers were terrible. They were terrible about, most of the 80s, but I was so little, I can barely remember that. I've had Hall of Fame quarterback play for the vast majority of my life, and I've been very spoiled from a football perspective. It would be rough to be a Cleveland Browns fan or a Lions fan where you're just perpetually losing. Like, it's got to be a great feeling to know that you're one of the better teams in the AFC coming off a big win like you are. I'm excited for that game this week or on Monday.
It's like we talk about those teams in the NBA that like haven't made the playoffs. And like for a team like Green Bay or the Lakers, it means nothing. And like for a Packers fan, a random Monday night game doesn't mean anything, but for a Browns fan sitting at 10-3, this is like the first time we've had this and it seems like forever.
Absolutely. And I can understand having your team be perpetually terrible. I live in Wisconsin. The Bucks and Brewers have been perpetually terrible for the vast majority of my life. They've been better the last couple of years, but that doesn't mean they haven't been, awful for the most of the time I've been alive. So I understand it. And it's frustrating not to be overly competitive. So I'm happy for you guys. I actually think you're going to win on Monday, too.
Awesome. Oh, I can't wait for that game. One of the biggest games the Browns have played in a while. And, man, I'm just hyped to talk about it. I'm hyped to enjoy Sunday football and have that game tomorrow. So it should be a fun weekend.
I'm drawing a blank. Who plays tonight?
Good game. Steelers-Bills.
Thank you. I was like, I knew I looked at it earlier and it wasn't on the main slate and it was a good game. We got couple of good games right here. And then again, I'm really excited for Minnesota, Tampa Bay. I know you like Tampa. It seems like everybody likes Tampa. I want to see Minnesota win this game. I know it's technically better for Green Bay for Tampa to win, but I'm not as scared. Like, I think Tampa is a hard recipe for the Packers. And, they showed it earlier in the year. So I'm hoping for It's one of the rare weeks I'll ever root for Minnesota.
Yeah, for sure. And man, this is crazy that I'm even thinking about this right now because we're making NFL. I am loving, I'm excited to talk NBA with you tomorrow. Like, legit excited. Like, for real.
I told you preseason would be a thing this year because we are all in that same boat of just being desperate for daily sports. And it's cold out here now. I'm sure in Cleveland, it ain't very nice either. Like, there's just not a lot you can do outside these days. So, like, having sports every day, even if it's only preseason, I loved watching Giannis run up and down the floor last night.
Yeah, exactly. And when you do have some skin in the game, it makes it still is preseason, obviously, but it makes it, you can't just, it's really hard to just watch a preseason game without having any skin in the game. Even regular season, it's a little bit difficult, but preseason, it's almost impossible. This makes it so you're entertained and you have something in it. I'm so about it, man.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you guys know, I'm a Bucks fan, so I'm watching the Bucks take on the Mavericks last night, and like, dissecting how does Drew Holiday look, Torrey Craig, Bobby Portis look good. What does that mean out of me? But like, if there was no skin in the game, it is really tough to watch that and really get too into it. Yeah, Portis looked good, but that doesn't mean anything. It's a preseason game, right? Like, I liked the signing when they made it, and because he had a couple of points and rebounds last night, you can't really get excited about that unless you're playing a little DK.
Man, watching playing preseason DFS is already another level. But if watching it without having any skin in the game is sick.
Definitely. All right, guys, we got to get this thing processed and uploaded, which you obviously realize we've done because you're watching. And I'm just saying, like, we got to stop talking so we can go set our lineups as well.
Thanks, guys.